Hello and welcome back to Formula 1 2019 on the TomFM channel. Today we have got the Spanish Grand Prix coming up. Now, historically, for me in Formula 1, the Spanish Grand Prix is probably one of my least favourite tracks. I just don't really like the circuit very much. I don't get on with it very well. I think partly it's because I play on a controller. If I had a wheel, perhaps that would be a little bit better maybe, but that's my situation. As you can see from my driver standings, after last time's poor performance in Azerbaijan when we sort of crashed out a little bit, recovered to get a few points, but we dropped down to 6th in the Drivers' Championship, and Red Bull as a team, we are 3rd in the Drivers' Championship behind Ferrari and Mercedes, who are very, very evenly paced and matched at the moment. So we need to do something about that and catch up with them. I should just say as well, just in the background, it is raining quite heavily at my house right now, so I do apologise if you can hear the rain in the background. There's not much I can do about that because I can't make it stop raining, so you're going to have to deal with it if you can hear it. Sorry about that. We've got some engine upgrades coming in. We've got the engine upgrade, we've got a chassis upgrade, but unfortunately the upgrade that we tried to get in for the new downforce on the diffuser, that has failed, which is a bit annoying. It doesn't matter too much because it's not a massively downforce heavy track, is Spain, so it's okay. We've got some good weather as well for qualifying and the race, so that should be quite decent this weekend. Hopefully a nice dry race should be quite good. I think it's well suited to our car, but I just don't think I'm particularly good at this. You can see now that we are still the second best side, or second best team in terms of the engine and everything like that. You can also see that our engine is starting to get a little bit of wear. I need to start replacing the parts. All the parts should be fine for Spain. We might need to change them out for Monaco. However, as Monaco it's not really a very engine heavy track basically. The engine's not the most important component, I would say, for Monaco. I think we might be okay to have a very worn engine for Monaco, and think we could still do quite well there. So I think we'll change a lot of the parts for when we race in Canada after that, but we won't change any parts for Monaco as far as I'm aware at the moment. We'll sort of see how we'll go. But into Spain now, into qualifying one, all we have to do is set a time good enough for the top 15 to progress into Q2. So that's what we're trying to do here in Spain. It's this corner here, for example. It's the opening corners. They've got some really long corners and some tight corners that I think actually probably would be a lot easier if you had a wheel, but I obviously race with a pad controller, so it's a bit more difficult, I think. Like this corner, for example, as well, it's a bit of a long one, a slow one. I think it would be easier with a wheel to sort of hold the wheel rather than trying to sort of mess around with the sticks on a pad, for example. But as we come around the final few corners, going quite wide there into the final corner of the Spanish Grand Prix track, we do cross the line and we do go 3rd on the leaderboard there, which isn't too bad so far. We'll take 3rd. That's quite a good position to be in. Into Q2, so that's quite good. And Q2 is looking pretty good for ourselves. Verstappen is currently our teammate. He's currently on pole at the moment, provisional pole for Q2, which is very good for the team. It shows that we've got a decent competitive car. As I said before, like this car should be quite good for Spain. However, as we come across around the final corner, and head up towards the line, where are we going to be? It's 3rd again in Q2, so we're good enough for Q3 to go into the top 10, which is what we want to be. That's where we want to be, obviously, and we want to be trying to get ourselves onto the front row, because Verstappen, once again, is on provisional pole, so we've got a car good enough to be on the front row. It just depends, are we good enough at this track to get it on the front row? And as I say, this first corner, or the first few corners of Spain, this real long right-hander I find so tricky. It's very similar to the corner in China. If you remember back to the Chinese race, round sector 3 in China, you've got a real long right-hander that I wasn't particularly good at, and I think it is just because it's quite difficult to do it on a controller, trying to hold the position on a controller, whereas a wheel, it's probably a lot easier. So maybe I should invest in a wheel at some point. We were fastest in sector 1 on our lap here in Q3, which is quite good. As we come down this back straight now, opening up our DRS, are we going to have another purple sector in sector 2? Not quite. We are a little bit down with 0.25 seconds, down on Devon Butler, who is now on pole position. So we need to get some moves going. We need to try and get back up there, because obviously Verstappen's been overtaken, so we have to get across the line in sub 120, because you can see Butler there on a 120.086. We need to go sub 120 to get pole pretty much. As we come around the final corner, open the DRS, we cross the line in provisional pole position with a 119.688, which is absolutely fantastic. Do we stay on pole position? We do. We stay on pole position, which is absolutely fantastic. There's a minute or so to go left in qualifying. We can get another lap in, obviously. Verstappen does improve, actually, to go ahead of Butler. Just goes ahead of Butler. And we are now into the race now, which is fantastic stuff. So we're on pole position. We have got to protect our leads. Our first pole position as well. And this is where I get a few issues when I'm recording. This doesn't... You can see right now it's like going a bit flickering, a bit weird. This doesn't happen to me when I'm actually playing it. It's only when I look back on it that it's doing it. And it does happen a bit in the race as well. And in the menus, it seems to flicker around sometimes. I'm not entirely sure why, but it just does it sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't put you off too much for the 30 seconds that the what are we calling the race strategy? Whilst the race strategy up, hopefully it doesn't bother you too much. But we're going to go for a one-stopper, and we're going to take some weight out of the car to try and make ourselves a little bit faster into the first corner as 5 lights, and away we go here in Spain. We've got Verstappen to our right, who's got a great start. All my starts in this game seem to be rubbish. I just can't seem to get a good start at all. He's got past us going down into that turn 1, and so's Vettel actually, but we've got to try and hang it around the outside. We have the inside line for the next corner, and we get past both Vettel and Verstappen to regain the lead of this Grand Prix after those first 2 corners, which is absolutely fantastic. That was crucial to get past them as quickly as possible after they took us off the line. My starts are rubbish. I don't understand why my starts are so bad. Maybe it's just because I've got assisted starts on, because I can't be bothered with the whole clutch thing. I don't quite know what I'm doing with that. So I just hold down the trigger to just go. And maybe that's not the best thing to do. If you've got a good way to start a race, please let me know, because I need to get a better start to stop things like that happening, to stop the pressure going into the first corner, particularly when we've got quite a long run to the first corner. But we're doing a good job at the moment of staying ahead of our teammate at the moment, who stays in second place as we enter Sector 3 now. Obviously, we're going purple in every sector right now because it's the first lap of the race and we're the first car to get there. So we are going purple in it. Don't worry too much about all these purple sectors, because it doesn't actually really mean anything. It's just because we're the car in front, basically. But as we come around the final few turns of lap 1, we keep our place at the top of the leaderboard. We stay first, which is absolutely fantastic. Potentially, actually, the first proper lap, the full lap that we've actually led in this whole career. I don't know if we've actually been first at all, which is a bit of a worry as we come around towards the end of lap 2 now into sector 3, and we managed to stay away from Verstappen over there. That was pretty good, keep away from him. But through lap 2 especially, I have a bit of a dodgy run around this corner. I don't quite nail it properly. Verstappen has come back at us a little bit and made some ground up. Now he won't get DRS on us because DRS doesn't start until lap 3, but he's probably going to be close enough to get in our slipstream and maybe try to get past us now as we head down the pit straight, heading on to lap 3 now. Verstappen now has the fastest lap of the race. He had a very fast one that catches up, and he's in our slipstream, and he goes to overtake us. We go defensive on pushing out wide. We try and maintain the racing line, but unfortunately Verstappen does just stay ahead of us. We're going to get straight into his slipstream, and he's completely brake checked us there. Absolutely brake checked us there. We were right in the slipstream, accelerating through the corner, and he's braked there. We've hit the back of him, and we've got some major damage to our front wing now. We've got a yellow left part of our front wing, so that means quite a bit of it is hanging off. Vettel temporarily overtook us there before we switched around and got him back on the inside and got back ahead of him. But our teammate, of all people, has absolutely done us dirty there. I cannot believe he's done that to us. And at the time when I was actually racing and recording it, I was fuming. I was so cross. I was really contemplating whether or not just to crash into him to try and ruin his race and things like that. I was so cross about this. Completely brake checked us, really ruins our front wing, and now we've got a job on our hands because we just don't have the downforce through these corners now, or the straight line speed anymore, because we're losing some downforce, losing a bit of grip. It's really frustrated me. We're meant to be pitting on lap 5, and because we're keeping in touch with Verstappen here, I've decided to keep going with him. I think we've got DRS. We may as well use that DRS, try and catch up with Verstappen, try and ruin his race a little bit as well. But I was so cross that he did that to us, because for a 3rd race in a row now, we've had contact and it's affected us. Now, that wasn't our fault. Azerbaijan in the last race probably was our fault. As you can see here, Devon Butler getting past us there with the DRS, and we're just not got the straight line speed and the cornering speed. We try and go around the outside of Butler, and unfortunately we just can't get the move done, and Verstappen and Butler both starting to get ahead of us now on lap 5. So we're going to pit at the end of this lap. As I was saying though, that wasn't our fault, the contact with, we were talking about Verstappen there, sorry. Azerbaijan, we had contact with Butler, who's in front of us right now. That was our fault. We ruined our race, so that was our fault completely. Just getting all our braking wrong and things like that. But then in the race before that in China, we had contact with not Max Weber. I keep calling him Max Weber, but I've been told in the comment section it's not Max Weber, it's Lucas Weber. I don't know how I keep getting that wrong, but we had contact with Lucas Weber in China, and that wasn't our fault either, but that ruined our race as well. You know, it stopped us getting on a podium and things like that. So we've had a front wing change because we were losing a bit too much time, I feel, around the corner. So I decided to get the front wing changed along with our tyres changed when we went in for our scheduled pit stop on lap 5 heading into lap 6. And it puts us down into 17th, into 18th now actually, as Kubica just gets past us there. So we're going to have to try and pass him very quickly to get some free air, because we don't want to be stuck behind a Williams of Kubica. So he's going around these first few corners now, and you can see that we've just got so much more pace through these corners. Through our, we've got superior downforce and things like that. So we managed to get past Kubica pretty easily there as we head into this almost 180 degree corner. Sorry, it's a very tough one to do on the controller, but we get past him, and we're now going to be chasing down the other Williams of George Russell. Now hopefully we'll catch up to him pretty quickly, which will be quite good. You can see here actually, I've had to do a rewind here. Now this was because I left this in because I thought it was quite funny. I had to do a rewind because a mosquito landed on me, and I'd already been bitten by one. I've still got the bite mark now actually. It's a few days since I recorded this, so I had to kill this mosquito, but it meant I had to crash. I had to rewind and things like that. On to lap 7 though, we are catching up with Russell and Sainz. You also got the message there just before that our teammate Max Verstappen was in the pits, so he's probably going to come out way ahead of us, which is quite unfortunate. Some great wheel-to-wheel racing there with George Russell though. No contact between us, great racing. I've got better at not getting contact with other cars through corners, but you'll see later on in the episode that I've not really improved that much. We do get past George Russell though, and now we're looking to try and get the DRS on the McLaren of Carlos Sainz now down the pit straight. Sainz obviously in his home race, he's the Spanish guy here, all the fans cheering for him in his McLaren. He switches to the inside, we go down the outside to try and make the move around the outside. That just has worked for us so well through this entire season so far. A little bit skid there to sort of slow us down a little bit. We do get the move done on Sainz, and we're back now into the top 10, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got various overtakes done with cars being in the pits and things like that. As we come around the pit lane here on lap 9, you can see that we overtake 3 cars in the pit lane to go back into P7, chasing down our old adversary from China, Lucas Weber, as he in his Renault. They're doing very well this season, Weber and in his Renault. They're both doing quite well, outperforming where they should be, I've got to say. So they're doing quite a good job, and we're trying to chase them down. And as you can see, the cars in front of us were in a bit of a train, and they've all slowed each other down because they're trying to overtake each other and things like that, which works out quite well for us, as Vettel, Verstappen and Weber all trying to battle for 4th place right now. And you can see actually just ahead of them, you've got 2 cars ahead of them on the mini-map. You've got a McLaren and a Mercedes and a Ferrari, so we're not too far away from 2nd place, which is quite good. I think it's Lewis Hamilton who's miles out in front, but we've opened the DRS. Weber gets past Verstappen with DRS. We're now chasing down Verstappen on DRS. Hopefully he's not going to brake check us again, but we get the move nearly done. We have to go around the outside. Now we've got the inside line in turn 2. Brilliant stuff into turn 3. We get the move done on our teammate Verstappen very cleanly, and I was so tempted to try and crash into him and try and ruin his race a little bit, but I thought we've got to think about the team here. Stop my personal vendetta against him getting the better of me. We need the points for the team to make sure we can try and catch up a little bit with the Mercedes and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. We've got past him, and we're now chasing down Weber. Unfortunately, we don't get too close to him in this lap, I don't think. We just try and get ahead of him. You can see here we're going to get DRS on him down this back straight here, but we're just not going to be quite close enough, especially as he's got DRS as well on Vettel in front of him. So we do a little bit of late braking to get a little bit closer to him, but unfortunately not quite close enough to pass. And it's not until we get to the same point in the next lap when we go for a dive down the inside, and there is wheel-to-wheel contact there, and more contact as we sort of push him off the track a little bit there down this straight. And he's now got the line on us going around this corner because he's got the racing line. It's a faster corner, that one. So you've got to go from the outside to the inside. So he gets past us there, but we do have DRS on him once again. We don't get the best exit from the corner down the back straight, but we do go for a dive down the inside. He has to brake quite heavily to avoid hitting us, I think, but we get the move done either way. It's quite a risky move. Perhaps you could say a bit of a backhanded move there, but we get the move done on Lucas Weber. We're back ahead of him now, back into P5, and with 4 laps to go in this race, we're not too far behind Vettel, looking to try and get the 4th place. And if we get 4th place, we're not going to be too far behind Devon Butler and hunting ourselves a place on the podium. Looks like, though, Weber trying to get back ahead of us. We switch to the left-hand side of the track to block him off a little bit in our defensive manoeuvre. And behind us, Verstappen's there and he hits the back of us. What has he been doing all race? You saw that shunt there. It actually worked out quite well for us. It gave us a little bit of an acceleration boost to get past Weber through that corner. So actually, he helped us out a little bit there. But Verstappen being reckless in this race, and it's clearly not worked out for him because he started second on the grid, obviously, and he's all the way back down in 7th place right now. So something must have happened to him along the way. I think just his general recklessness has stopped it, and obviously he's ruined our race by hitting us, and meant we had to get a new front wing, and it's held us up massively, unfortunately. And on to lap 15 of 17 now. You can see that we are starting to chase down Vettel. As we head on to lap 16, we get overtaken by Weber down the back straight, which is risky at the very end of the race on the penultimate lap. We try and get the move done around the outside, doesn't quite work, but down the inside of the next turn, we do get the move done, which is absolutely fantastic, reclaiming 5th place from Weber. And all we have to do now for a lap and 3/4 is try and hold on to this 5th place, because that would be quite the achievement to come, to say we were leading the race. If you say we were leading the race and we came down out in 5th, that's a poor race. But given the circumstances where our teammate brake checks us, have to get a front wing change, that's an extra 20 seconds or so in the pits, which we don't have. And that's the reason why we're so far back in this race compared to where we started, which I'm not happy with. As we come around the final few corners, Lewis Hamilton wins the race, and I get my braking, everything completely wrong here, to the point where I get warning for corner cutting and exceeding track limits. I thought I was going to get a time penalty there. Luckily, we don't, and we cross the line in 5th place, which is a good recovery, but it's so frustrating considering that really we should have been nailed on for a race win here. Are we ever going to win one?
So let's review the updated drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moves to the top of the table. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
And there we go. That's the end of the race. We take over Verstappen in the driver standings there by a couple of points after we finish ahead of him, which is good. We stay in 3rd in the Constructors, and we lose more points to Mercedes and Ferrari because they all finish ahead of our Red Bulls. So we're lagging behind now in the Constructors. We need to get a move on in the driver standings as well, because really it's not good enough at the moment. As you can see, the rivalry screen now, we're actually now leading the rivalry with Max Verstappen a little bit more after that race, after we get slightly better results than him. But Devon Butler is getting away from us a little bit in our rivalry there, 10-9 on the points. We go into the R&D as well now, looking to try and make some improvements for Monaco. We really need to make some improvements desperately. We are massively behind in the engine department, so you can see here, 2 engine parts. We've got 1,200 points, 2 engine parts, 600 each. Let's get both of them done, I reckon. We'll start off with the oil combustion. Let's get that one developed, because we need it. We need the engine upgrades desperately. However, after I did that, you go back on the other one, and apparently it's gone up to 650 points, which we don't have enough points for, which is quite frustrating. So, no engine upgrades there. Only the one, engine upgrade, not the both engine upgrades, which is a bit frustrating. So instead, we're going to go down to aerodynamics and try again with our diffuser that failed for the start of this race. Have a bit more downforce for Monaco, which would be quite good. Monaco, of course, is the next race. Now, if you thought Baku was a bit of a weird one to watch, and I was awful in Baku, wait till you get to Monaco, because honestly, I think we could crash out of this race. So that's going to be quite an entertaining one. Please join me for that one. I'll see you then. Goodbye.